Can Trinidad and Tobago's People's Partnership, which came to power as a broad coalition of formerly opposition parties, be replicated in Guyana? This is a question that many are asking. Well, it is quite possible, but it will be much more difficult to achieve that in Guyana for two reasons. First, unlike the situation in Trinidad, where the UNC and the COP were willing to bury their differences in the pursuit of the common good, with the COP acknowledging the seniority of the UNC, in Guyana, the Alliance for Change is not willing to do the same. The AFC either believes that it can win the election on its own or is not serious about partnership. There can be no credible opposition in Guyana without the Opposition People's National Congress. Second, even if the AFC is on board, a joint opposition slate will have an uphill task. It is much more difficult to get East Indians to vote against the incumbent East Indian PPP in Guyana than it was to get Africans in Trinidad to vote against the PNM. Indians in Guyana have less overt incentive to abandon the PPP. The fear of African domination is widespread among Indians, while there is a silent constituency that is not necessarily opposed to Indian domination. Racial animosity is much more poisonous in Guyana. Further, the PPP is adept at playing the race card, especially at election time. There are other hurdles, such as convincing African Guyanese to register and vote in large numbers, wresting the Amerindian vote from the PPP, agreeing on a consensus presidential candidate, and whether members of civil society will come on board. So in a nutshell, opposition unity would have to be total. The parties have to act in a matured manner and rise above narrow partisan concern, and they have to do so well in advance of the election. The longer they have to build a movement and raise the political momentum, the better their chances will be. My own preference is for a joint opposition whose thrust goes beyond the elections, that treats the election as a means to a desired end of a government of national unity, so that even if the joint opposition loses the election, it can use its vote as a critical mass to mobilize and agitate for constitutional mechanisms that will facilitate a power-sharing government, which ideally should include the ruling PPP.